Today I'm going to be talking about how to import a HiRISE DTM into Blender. And so first of all, we need to pick a DTM so that we can pull it into Blender, and the easiest way to do that is go open a web browser and go to www.uahirise.org/DTM. And that will bring you to this page. And so you can browse through the DTMs, you can click through various pages of DTMs, or you can go to a map overview, which will bring you down to this page. And so from the map overview, I chose this particular area of Mars, and I selected the layered rock outcrops in southwest Candor Chasma. And when you click on this link, it will bring you to this page. And so if we scroll down, we'll see here's our title again, layered rock outcrops in southwest Candor Chasma. And here's our image products. And so the DTM is what we're going to bring directly into Blender. This will create our mesh, or kind of terrain model inside of Blender. And then we're going to take one of these extras products and drape it over this mesh. So we'll go ahead and right click and save link as, and place it somewhere that we know about. And then right now the extras directory listing is broken, so I'll report that later. But we can go ahead and look at these different kinds of products. And so if we look at color altimetry, then this is what we see. And there's at the top here, you'll see this text, and we actually don't want this text. And so I'm going to select the image and actually look at the directory listing now. And this directory listing will work. Okay, so if we were looking at the CA, which is color annotated, we actually want CB, which is color browse. And there are other browse pictures that are not color, and this is perhaps more striking and Mars-like, but for this tutorial I'm going to use something pretty colorful. Great. Okay, so now that we have this image, I'm going to go ahead and right-click and save the image as, place it in the same directory. You can place it wherever you like, but I'm going to place it here for ease of use. Okay, so we're done with Chrome, and we'll go into Blender. So here's our default Blender scene. If you've never ever opened up Blender before, this is exactly what it looks like, i.e. these are the factory default settings. So the first thing we have to do is we actually have to enable the plugin to import the DTM. So we go File, User Preferences, which will open up the Blender User Preferences window. We'll go into the Add-ons tab, and we will click on this little search area, and under categories, if we have all, then we'll be able to find the HiRISE plugin, and it will probably end up looking like that. But if you expand it, you'll see this information, and the plugin may consume a lot of memory. It's actually not the plugin, it's the DTM itself. If you import a large DTM, it will use a large amount of memory inside of Blender, and I'll talk to that point in a second. So let's go ahead and enable the plugin, which is that little checkbox over here. And if we click Save as Default, then next time we open Blender, Blender will say, hey, I can import a HiRISE DTM by default, and that'll be wonderful. Okay, so here we are at our default scene. Let's go ahead and do File, Import, HiRISE DTM from PDS Image. And we're going to go to the area that our image was saved as. We're going to select it, and we can either scroll down here, or we can minimize these, or if you have a larger screen, you can see this by default. But in any case, there's a little pane here that says Import HiRISE DTM from PDS Image, and then there are two settings that we can set. And so the scale is how large the DTM will be in our scene. And 0.01 means that 1 meter will be 0.01 Blender units. Okay, now binning. Basically what we're doing is we're taking a bunch of pixels and turning it into a single point on the mesh that we're creating. So 12 by 12 fast means take 12 by 12 pixels, choose one of them, and create a single point on the mesh that we're importing. 12 by 12, instead of picking one of those points, we'll actually average all of those 12 by 12 points and then create a single point on our mesh. 6 by 6 fast versus 6 by 6 is similar. This one is sampling, this one's averaging. This will pull in 4 times as many points, and similarly 2 by 2 will pull in a lot more points. And none will create a one-to-one mapping between the .img file and the mesh that you're importing. So I'm going to go ahead and do a 12 by 12 fast just for brevity, and speed of import. And the other note is that if you pull in a 12 by 12 fast now and then pull in a 6 by 6 later on, or even a 2 by 2 or none, it'll pull it into the same spot in the scene, so you can basically import the smaller one that's easier to work with, and then work with it, create all your animation settings, etc. And then later on, once you're ready to do your final render, pull in a 6 by 6 or higher. So okay, let's go ahead and do the import. Okay, so here's our default scene plus the HiRISE mesh, and you can see that it's pretty blocky when we're zoomed this close into it. We can get rid of that blockiness by, again, importing with a 6 by 6 or a 2 by 2. If your machine can handle 2 by 2, great. Then it's definitely better than my machine, and it's a pretty awesome machine, or you're looking at this from sometime in the future, or both. So here we go. Here's our mesh as seen by default. So we're going to hit T just to get a little more screen real estate here. I'm going to split our view a few times so that we can see what's going on in various parts of the scene. So if I hit 0 while hovering over this pane, then we will see the camera view, and it says camera perspective. And if I hit 7 over here, then we'll see a top perspective. So I'm going to go ahead and change my scene a little bit just so the tutorial will work a little bit better. And so if we select our camera, we can grab the camera and kind of move it around. If we say GZ, then we'll grab it on the Z axis so we can move it up, and eventually just kind of place your camera somewhere that you think looks nice. And if we do our default render, we'll end up seeing this, which doesn't look too interesting. It's just this big black thing, and hey, there's a bright spot over there. That's kind of weird. I don't think Mars looks like that, but maybe it does in some weird way. So we can go ahead and change our lamp. If we select the lamp and go under the object data, then we can change it to the type sun. And if we go into the object tab, then we can change the rotation. If we change these all to zeros, then it basically means we've got a sun object that is pointing straight down. If we zoom in, we can see that line is pointing straight down. Okay, great. So now if we do another render, we will see something that's not all black, and instead of all black, looks kind of like a big shiny piece of plastic, which also doesn't really look like Mars. So, but we're getting closer. If we go and we select our DTM over here, and then we go under the Material tab, then we can actually create a new material, and this is creating a new material for the DTM in specific. And so, you know, we can name this material whatever we like, and so I'll just call it a color browse. Okay, so there's our color browse material, and let's scroll down, or if you have a larger screen you won't have to scroll, and you can click on shadeless. And what that's going to do is it's basically going to say, hey Blender, don't bother making all these shades for us, because our material actually already has shading in it. And so I just went a quick step there too quickly, but I went under the texture tab. Notice that we're still under the DTM, and this is the color material that we just created, and so we've added a texture to the material. And so here's our texture. The default texture type is clouds, and so let's change that to image removie, so that we can import that image. So we scroll down, we see image, and we'll say open. And so we go down to the area that we saved our image into, and we say open, and here's a quick preview of the image. And so if we go render image, instead of seeing a big gray piece of plastic, we should now see a color topography map overlaid onto a DTM. Okay, great. So one other quick note here is that this render, even though it's a 12 by 12 mesh and a quick image draped over it, took 5.5 seconds, and that's quite a bit for just a single frame. So if you go under the render settings over here, the render tab, and you scroll down to shading, expand the shading tab, if you turn off ray tracing, then you won't actually be doing any ray tracing. You won't have to create a ray tracing scene. It will just render much faster. So if we do another render really quickly, and it'll look basically exactly the same You know, there's people that would yell at me for saying that because no, it won't be exactly the same, but it's pretty darn close. And the reason we don't need ray tracing is because, again, the image that we pulled in already has shade on it. And we don't have any transparent objects that we're looking through, or mirrors, or anything like this that would require ray tracing to drop shadows or kind of alter our perspective of the scene. And so that brings it down to 1.5 seconds as opposed to just over 5 seconds. So there we have it. There's our default scene that I will use in future Blender videos. And oh, there's one other quick tip. If you see, there's kind of this little line out there where, as in our scene, maybe that's not a cutoff, and we actually want to go to our camera view and our camera settings, and we want to change the far clipping plane to something much higher, because the mesh itself is larger than 400 Blender units usually when you're pulling in a HiRISE DTM. And so now when we render, we should see the rest of the mesh out here, as opposed to that being cut off by the far clipping plane of our camera. Alright, great. Thanks for watching, and if you like this, subscribe to my channel, and there's probably more great videos to come. Cheers.